Hi everybody, my name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So today I want to talk about codependent family relationships. So specifically when we're on the spiritual journey or a healing journey of any kind, now whether this is conscious or unconscious, our lives go to pretty much shit. What it is that our soul is out of alignment with what we should be doing, with our life purpose. And we're on this path that is not for us. We're on this path that is just not in alignment with who we truly are. And that path goes to shit when we don't listen to the nudges from the universe, to the nudges from our soul, to our own intuition. We think this is the path for us and we think this is where we're supposed to be. And then we question why it all goes to shit. But the reason it goes to shit is because it's not the path for you. And more often than not, when this happens throughout our spiritual or healing journey, we end up living back at our parents. And I've seen this happen so many times with people on this journey. They end up back for a brief amount of time living at home again. Now, I did this back when I was 27 and it only lasted 6 months because I just couldn't do it. I needed my independence. But sometimes you can become codependent again on your parents if you move back home. And this can make your life very stagnant. This can make you delay your soul's path, delay your mission in life, and delay your life purpose. Because when we go back into these codependent tendencies, we turn back into our teenage selves when we move back home. And that's what it is like. Our parents, I don't know what it is, because I think it's actually harder. You know, when you're a teenager, you just want to leave. All you want to do is get out. You want your life, get out of the house, and you don't care because you're choosing you. You're choosing your life and you're getting out of there as quick as possible. So that's your motive and you're going to aim for that. But when you move back home after being away from home for so long, it can actually become more codependent than you were as an actual teenager. The reason is because we've been hurt from the breakdown of those relationships, or from the breakdown of that job, or the breakdown of the home we were living in. Do you know, so this in turn will affect our inner child. This will bring up core abandonment wounds, rejection wounds, failure wounds, feeling of unworthiness. And this will make us very, very vulnerable. So this leads us to be more prone to codependent relationships. So this is where the rebound thing comes in as well. If you get into a relationship too soon after a breakup, this can actually attract toxic relationships as well. But when you move back home, you're so vulnerable and needy again because your heart has been broken from your path. You think, oh my God, everything I've ever wanted is gone. What's wrong with me? And that's what it is. It's unconscious. You blame yourself and you're like, I'm a failure. I can't do anything right. This was the path I wanted and it's gone. Whereas in actual fact, you need to start listening to yourself and understand that wasn't your path in the first place. But because of this pain, this vulnerability, this feeling like you failed, this feeling of unworthiness, you become childlike again. And because you move back home, you will end up reverting back to your childlike or teenage-like ways. And because, I don't know what it is as well, because when you fly the nest, your parents want that for you, and they're happy to have their freedom, of course. But there's also that little bit of nostalgia. It's like, oh my God, they lack purpose because you're all gone now, all the kids are gone. And they feel lonely. So when you do come back, they start to feel motherly or fatherly again. And they end up kind of latching on a bit too tightly as well. They don't want you to leave again. And they're like, don't worry, take your time. You're in no rush to go anywhere. It's cheaper to stay here. Stuff like that. And they are only doing their best. They're trying their best. But a part of them is feeling vulnerable as well. So they latch on as well. And they will start to kind of pull you back into this dynamic. And you'll take it because you're feeling vulnerable as well. They'll treat you like a child and you will start to act like a child again because this this is what happens. And I've seen this now. Thankfully, I haven't moved. Like I moved out at 18. I moved back for like less than a month when I was 19, and I had to get out again. I had to go. And I lived on my own when I was 19. But after my 8-year toxic relationship with the narcissist that I was with, I ended up having to move back to my dad. And I ended up there for 6 months. Now, that was 6 months longer than I actually wanted to stay there, because we clashed. And I was like, I need my independence. I need to get out. But like 6 months to me was way too long. But I appreciated it because it helped me to save that money I needed. But there was other times that I actually became overly codependent. And it was like the times I'd go up for a week at Christmas, my dad would treat me like a teenager. And what would happen? I would start acting like a teenager. I'd get lazy. I'd be eating sweets all the time. He'd mess all around the place. Just not doing anything. He'd cook every meal for me, and like literally spoil me rotten. And it was great. It was lovely. But that's a codependent tendency on both sides. He was so needing to give me stuff. And I was feeling like, oh yeah, I remember saying this to friends, my dad treats me like a child when I go up, I'm spoiled rotten. But this is unhealthy. And like back in 2021, I had to walk away from a very big group of friends that I loved dearly, but because of one of them turning toxic, I had to walk away. That really affected my inner child, and it really affected me at that time. And also because of that, as well as that, shortly after that, I started another job and attracted another narcissistic boss. So after that went to shit, I ended up feeling so vulnerable and so codependent, I started to visit my dad more regularly because I needed that comfort. And this started to get unhealthy. I'd forgotten I'd set boundaries with my dad previously because he was a bit of an energy vampire and he used to suck the life out of me, and his negativity used to just get me very down. So I had set boundaries where I'd only go up once every few months, or if I did go up, it was very briefly. But I started visiting him once a month. I remember like yesterday saying, oh, I can hang around with him more now. He doesn't affect my energy. I was wrong. I became so codependent on him again. And then when he had no car for a while, I ended up for 6 weeks staying in his house 4 nights of the week, 4 days of the week, every week for 6 weeks. This almost killed me. Genuinely, I lost every sense of who I was. I became vulnerable, I became codependent, and that was because of the pain I'd gone through from walking away from the relationship and for that other job breaking down. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that it becomes so easy to become codependent on your parents again after going through, a life struggle or your life going to complete shit. This can lead us to lose ourselves again. And that's the part of us, that's the part that's so heartbreaking, is we lost ourselves so completely to those toxic relationships and we became so vulnerable, so needy again after it. We're sitting there and we're afraid that we're going to lose ourselves again to another dynamic or another friendship or another relationship like that. And it turns out we're digging ourselves a bigger hole by staying in our parents' house for too long or staying around our parents for too long and letting them become codependent on us, but letting ourselves become codependent on them. And it gets to be toxic. You lose all sense of yourself. You stop socializing. You stop doing anything for yourself because you feel, that's the thing when you go back. When you're a teenager, you're in this kind of Mayfain mentality that, you think of yourself. And like, that's a good thing because you have to choose yourself to get on with your life. You're not going to stay at home forever. You have to fly the nest. But when you tend to move back home, you've got this different kind of maturity or this kind of respect. And you think that it's your obligation now to do everything for your parents because of what they did for you. But this is codependency. You end up doing everything for them because you feel so unworthy because of what has gone wrong in your life, that you feel a sense of validation or worthiness by fixing their lives or by being there for them. So therefore you neglect yourself by putting them first all the time. And I'm not trying to say be selfish, but you have to choose yourself. If you move back home in your late 20s or your early 30s or whatever age, 40s, it doesn't matter. Because I've seen it with people of many ages going through this spiritual journey. They've gone home at any random ages because of the breakdown of their relationships or jobs, etc. And they become, it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't, even if they're in their 40s, they can become codependent again and turn into their teenage childlike ways because of an unhealed inner child due to the trauma they went through because of the toxic relationships or the breakdown of their jobs or whatever else. So you have to be mindful of this. You know, are you losing yourself to doing everything for your parents again? Are you losing your direction in life because you're choosing to do what you think is best for them? You get me? Like you're so fixated on providing for them now that you forget to provide for yourself. You're so fearful of letting other people into your life again after being hurt so much that you end up thinking, right, if I spend all my time doing this, I can't get hurt again. But you're losing yourself. And you can't live at home forever. You need to become independent again. You need to live your life, especially if like you want to aspire to do your life purpose. If you want to meet that person you're happy ever after, you're not going to do it by sitting at home all the time, helping your parents do this, that, the other. You're not going to do it by becoming codependent on the people around you. And it doesn't have to be your parents. It can be your comfort zone. It can be the dynamics that you're any kind of relationship that you have in your life that is sucking the life out of you, that is taking everything from you. And that's what it is. Are you putting so much into other people that you're neglecting yourself? This is codependent behaviors, and this is due to your wounded inner child. You know, and as I've said before, like your inner child is going to be wounded no matter what kind of a childhood you had, because of certain family dynamics. You know, and like childhood abandonment doesn't have to come from your parent actually leaving. It can come from addictions or neglect or lack of affection. Your inner child is going to feel abandonment and rejection due to any kind of dynamic like that. So you might think you had a peachy childhood, but look back and ask yourself, did you get the affection that you wanted at that time? Did your parent choose alcohol or substances over you? Did they choose not to be affectionate because of their own upbringing? Did they neglect that part of your, you know, that comfort, that love? Because that's how your inner child will feel abandonment and rejection. But this wound will be re-triggered when you go through any kind of relationship breakdown or any kind of what you will see as failure, a job breaking down, that career that you thought you wanted breaking down. All of this will trigger your inner child and your abandonment wound, your rejection wound, because we all have it. Every inner child has this rejection, this feeling of unworthiness from something that may have happened. And it doesn't, you know, as I said, you could have had the most loving childhood ever, but one little thing could have led to your inner child feeling rejected or wounded. And then that wound will be re-triggered by any kind of relationship breakdown, whether it's friendship, you know, or family or romantic, any kind of job breaking down, any kind of what you will see as failure, because you will start to feel unworthy. You will start to feel vulnerable again. And this is how it's so easy to get attached to other people. And that's the thing, you're so afraid to lose yourself again to another thing that could hurt you, like a relationship, a job, a friendship, that you end up becoming unhealthily attached to your parents again because you've moved back home. So you need to start setting boundaries. If it's not feasible for you to actually move out right now, like ask yourself, how long have you been there? For me, 6 months was too long. It's too long to be back at home with your parents for any length of time, to be honest with you. But sometimes it's needed because of financial issues or, you know, stuff, you know, you need to get your shit together again. But if you're home longer than that, if you're home a few years, this is a red flag. You need to start saying to yourself, wait, I need to start getting my shit together. I need to start making the steps I need to make to get my life back in order, because it is your life. You have to fly the nest. You need to be independent. And as I said, you go back to the nest and it becomes unhealthier because the parent is like, has been so lonely in a sense, even though they enjoy their independence again. They have this kind of like, oh, all my babies have gone and I have no purpose left, because they haven't even found themselves again. So when you do go back, they end up becoming too attached to you. You become too attached to them because you're vulnerable. And like, that's caring. That's what the parents do. They see that their child needs help and that you're vulnerable again, so they will help you. But it can become toxic. It can become unhealthy. You're not a child anymore. We need to nurture our core wounds. We need to nurture our own inner child and find our independence again. Find our love within ourselves again, so that we do not depend on anyone outside of us for that. So ask yourself, do I need to start setting boundaries here? Are you home a certain amount of time and saying to yourself, okay, maybe I have been neglecting moving out again. Maybe I have been stagnant. Maybe I'm getting too comfortable in this situation. Ask yourself these questions. And if it isn't actually feasible for you to move out at that time or at this time, then set some boundaries. Start looking after yourself. Start cooking your own meals. Like, and this is what would happen with my dad. Anytime I'd go visit, he would cook everything for me. He would, I'd make my own coffee in the morning and get my own breakfast, but every other meal, every other snack, he'd get me because I let him. You know what I mean? I turned into a child because he treated me like a child. So start setting boundaries, start being responsible for yourself again. Do your own laundry. That's what I did. If I stayed up there for a bit extra and needed to wash clothes, I'd do my own laundry. You know what I mean? Cook your own meals. Leave the house. Have a social life. Go spend some time with friends. Let some new opportunities into your life. Because if you keep going around in this cycle, if you're saying to yourself, this is the same shit every day, every single day, and you're going around in this circle, this is because you're in this unhealthy dynamic. So you need to start setting boundaries. You need to start choosing yourself. You need to start looking after your life again and start to make those steps towards building your future again. Do you know what I mean? Because we get so codependent again. We get so comfortable in our comfort zone that we're like, anytime we think about moving out again, it frightens us. It actually frightens us. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to live again? And you've been in a relationship, say, for 3.5, 4 years, 7 or 8 years. I was like 1.5 years. All these kind of long-term relationships that you've been in. You could have children with these people as well. And this can lead to you becoming codependent and replacing that codependency with another codependency. Do you know what I mean? You can be in long-term relationships and become so codependent that you forget yourself. And then when you come out of something like that, you're like, you question how you can change anyway, because you've become so codependent in that cycle. But you literally just replaced that old relationship with your parent. And you went from one codependent cycle into one with your parents again. And you replaced that relationship with another unhealthy relationship. You're losing yourself again to somebody else. This time it's a family member. So you need to ask yourself, what steps do you need to take to move forward? What steps do you need to take to pursue the goals that you want to pursue? Instead of sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, wondering why your life went to shit, say thank you for the universe for guiding you onto the right path. But don't lose yourself so completely. That's the test as well, you see. When we're on this spiritual journey and when we're on this path to our life purpose, the universe tests us with these codependent relationship dynamics. And I had to make the hardest decision of my life. My health and my mental and physical health went to shit because I became codependent on my dad again. But because of his low vibrational, toxic, negative energy and him sucking my life force out of me, I lost all sense of myself. My soul was inside me in a glass box, banging on the wall, screaming at me to get out, to do something. And for a long time, I couldn't hear her. I could see her. I could see that I was losing myself. And I just didn't know why. And I wasn't letting myself see why. And I had to make the hardest decision of my life to actually cut my family members off and completely isolate myself for a full year to get myself back into my independence. And it took me a year of self-care, healing, and choosing my life purpose for me to get to where I am now. But I let it get so bad in that codependent relationship that I actually had to walk away. I couldn't set boundaries. I had to leave it. And that's horrible. That was the hardest decision I ever had to make. Like, I spent the last year completely isolated so that I would heal. Don't let it get that far. Don't let it become toxic. Choose yourself and choose your life path. And that's the test the universe does. It literally brings the same relationships into your life over and over again in a different form to see if you've learned your lesson, or to see if you'll choose your independence and your life purpose. And it's up to you how long you let this go on for. You need to face the wounds that have been battered from childhood. Your inner child needs to be healed from the childhood dynamics, from the toxic relationship dynamics, from the breakdown of your life path that you were on, the wrong life path, or the careers that you thought you wanted. All of this will hit your abandonment, your rejection wound. All of it is like a slap to your inner child over and over and over and over again every time you think you failed. But the whole point of this happening is for you to heal that wound within you and to choose yourself and to choose to find your life purpose because of this. And this is the test they bring to you. They would bring, no matter whether, they would bring that relationship, that codependent dynamic into your life again until you're ready. You will keep repeating the same cycle until you're ready. So this could be, as I said, a rebound relationship. It could be a friendship that they bring in that's toxic, or that codependent family relationship dynamics. This is a test to see if you're going to choose your life, or are you going to stay at home forever? You're going to stay at home because you think it's your duty now to look after your parents. You know, that kind of way, because that's what you get into your head. It's like, if I help them, then I have a purpose. And therefore you lose all sense of self because you think by looking after them, that gives you the validation that you didn't get from the failure of those relationships, or what you deem as failure. I don't think there's any such thing as failure. I don't even like that word, because there's no such thing. There are lessons in life. Everything that goes wrong is because it wasn't supposed to be for you. And what is right for you will come into your life when you're ready. But the things that are good in your life, you have to choose those good things. But you can only choose to move forward with your life purpose and choose to move forward with those good relationships if you let go of the unhealthy, toxic, and they are toxic, codependent dynamics that you have with the people around you. So ask yourself that, like, are the relationships that you have in your life healthy? Are they consuming every part of you? Are you neglecting yourself, your life purpose, and your path because you're so fixated on fixing them, when you should be looking within yourself, facing your wounds, facing your demons, and fixing yourself? Because you need to start, if you cannot physically move out at this time, start to make boundaries, start to choose yourself, and start to pursue stuff in alignment with your soul. Go within, heal your inner child, reparent your inner child, heal those core wounds that have led you to attract these codependent relationships, and start to choose yourself. Now, this is difficult because you're in this comfort zone, and when we move out of the comfort zone, it can feel scary and uncomfortable, but you have to do it. So ask yourself these questions. Am I at home way too long? Do I need to fly the nest again? Do I need to start making those steps towards choosing myself again? Do I need to start setting boundaries and start becoming independent of myself again? Because, as I've said, it's hard. Well, it's not hard. For me, it wasn't hard to leave the nest. I left at 18. I left the weekend before I finished school. Do you know what I mean? That's because I had that opportunity. I was gone as quick as I could. Most teenagers do. But some teenagers can get too codependent on their parents as well, because the parent won't let them leave. This is unhealthy. So when you go back with your vulnerability, the parent will get over-parenting again and start to treat you like a child. Ask yourself this. Is this an unhealthy relationship? Am I becoming too codependent? Am I coming back to my childlike ways? Am I living like a teenager again because my parent is treating me like that? Ask yourself these questions, because more often than not, on the spiritual journey, you will end up going home for a brief stint as a test to see if you choose yourself again. And as I said, back when I was 27, I moved back home for 6 months after my 8-year toxic relationship. And because of me and my dad's personalities clashing and I needing my independence, I had to go. This is what drove me out of that and, gave me the drive to get my own place again. I actually ended up in another toxic relationship after that, but that's a different story. So it took me a while to get myself back on. It took me a while to stop going through those cycles, because I went from, 8-year toxic relationship, moving home for 6 months, to being in another toxic relationship for 1.5 years and moving in with him way too quickly, to finally finding my independence again. So there you go. The cycle will be repeated until you wake the fuck up. And that's as simple as that. So start to ask yourself these questions. Is it time for change? Am I getting too codependent? Am I getting too comfortable in my comfort zone? Am I turning into a child again because my parent is treating me like a child? You need to break back out of the cycle and choose your life purpose. Figure out what you want in your life and start making the steps towards that. Set those boundaries and start choosing yourself and start choosing the life that you deserve. Because you're not back at home for life. You're not there to stay and look after your parents. You are there for a brief stint of time to get your shit together and move back on with your life and pursue the life that is in alignment with your soul. So don't see yourself as a failure, because the life that didn't work out was not the life for you. Start to heal your wounds, face that hardship within you, face that abandonment and the rejection wound, nurture your inner child, be your own parent, and break that codependent, unhealthy family dynamic that you may be in if you've moved back home for too long in the middle of your transition. So be mindful of that and set those boundaries if you need it, and choose yourself, choose your life, because you're here for a higher purpose. You're not here to stay stagnant and go around in circles. The reason your life went to shit is because you have something more to do on this planet. You have a purpose, and it's time for you to pursue that. Pursue the love you want, pursue the goals you want, pursue the life mission that you are here to fulfill on this planet. Because I'm telling you, you're here for more than what you're going through right now. So break that cycle, break that mundane life that you're in, and choose yourself. Choose your independence, reparent your inner child, choose to heal, and choose to move on and create the life that you deserve. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. And if it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path. Thanks again. Bye-bye.